Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Cheap Brew. I'm Anthony. Today we're going to take a break talking about the fermenting of various sugars and making alcoholic beverages to talk kind of about the opposite. I want to talk about the 2 years that I spent not drinking alcohol. So let's kind of bust into that a little bit. It's January 2026 right now. And I know that Dry January is a thing, and of course I will be participating in this. Not really a fair thing to say, I suppose, because up until the beginning of the year I had been alcohol-free for 2 years. So it's not going to be particularly difficult. There's not really much of a reason to do it because I didn't imbibe over the holidays, I suppose. Only reason really why I am doing it is just because it's just not in the plan for me to become a habitual drinker again. So it's just, another month. So I know that's not the case for everybody out there. And it certainly wasn't the case for me because up until 2 years ago, I had never done Dry January. I don't think I could have stood long enough to take an entire January to be dry. So let's talk about how the first, few months goes, or, in general, we're going to talk about the experience that I had from start to finish for my 2 years totally sober. So, around 6 months ago or so, I made a video explaining all the reasons why I decided to stop drinking alcohol. You can watch that video. I'll put a link somewhere up here. I'm not sure. Maybe there. So you can go watch that video if you want to see the reasons why, but come back here if you want to hear about the overall experience of being sober for 2 years. I won't make you wait any longer. Let's start on day one. Day one of not drinking, I woke up with the nastiest hangover and the taste of putrid teriyaki in my mouth because I spent the evening over the toilet throwing up some wild turkey and teriyaki chicken and rice. Wouldn't recommend that really, but it was good motivation to kind of put a pin in it. So anyway, day one was really easy because I felt like shit. Day two was also pretty easy because I still felt like shit and got a little scare at the doctor with some really stupid news. Apparently, this drink called beer and alcohol, and when you combine it with pizza and do that as your diet for 5 years, that can give you a condition known as gout. So my toe really hurt, and I was pretty pissed off about that. So that was my first week, just dealing with the bullshit of all of my prior decisions. So let's bust into week number two. Week number two, things started to change a little bit. I started to feel like I was constantly hung over. Didn't really care for that either. Who would? But it wasn't just for a day. It was for 3 weeks. The whole rest of the month was just nasty, hungover, and the best reason I can come up with is detoxing from, alcohol and pizza, my terrible, crappy diet beforehand, combined with, the drinking and stuff, was just a lot to detox. So there's a lot of gut changes, with my microbiome, and just, I also was dropping a ton of weight too then. So there's you quit drinking, you change your diet, for the better, you lose weight. That was all going on during the first month. I suppose if you're interested in knowing, I started, when I quit drinking, I was 190 pounds, and eventually I got down to 159, and that took 2 months. And a little bit of help from a stomach bug to get me all the way down to 159. But anyways, it's a lot of weight to drop, I thought, and it happened really quick. Not necessarily overnight, but within a couple of weeks, I did go from 190 to 175, so 15 pounds just by, stopping eating crap and stopping drinking. So that's an interesting observation all on its own. But anyways, getting into month number two. Month number two, was kind of more of just kind of figuring out how I could stop myself from wishing I was drinking in the evenings. Because that would be my time, right? I'd come home and I would sit down at the computer, watch a YouTube video, have several glasses of, beer or, a mixed drink of some kind. And now it's time to figure out how to deal with, why I was doing that and just stop doing it altogether. The goal was to not let myself do it. And I succeeded. That was a great success, as they say, in a certain movie. But it wasn't particularly easy. I wouldn't say it was particularly difficult either, because of going through that whole experience at the beginning of the first month. I knew I didn't want to go back to that. So I had plenty of good reasons to continue going forward without drinking. And that was month number 2. Month number 3, that whole process of kind of figuring out what makes you want to drink and saying, you really don't need to do that, or finding a workaround rather. The workaround process starts at the very beginning. You might want to consider finding something to replace alcohol drinking with. Mine was tea. I really enjoyed some herbal tea, some green tea in the morning, some coffee. Really liked coffee. Coffee was good. My coffee intake has definitely gone up. I was able to start figuring out kind of how to manage myself again. Because up until I quit, I really wasn't. And that was really what I figured out was my main reason for doing it. Was, one, it feels good, to get the buzz going. But second, the main reason why I would do it is just because it would make me not feel or have to deal with whatever I was, trying to, whatever would accumulate throughout the day. Basically, I would unwind with a little bit too much. And now, after not doing it for a while, I can do that on my own. I can compartmentalize is a horrible word. I can analyze and assimilate all that data without the help of alcohol, which gets easier over time because your brain is wired a certain way when you drink it, when you drink all that stuff away, and then you have to rewire it, and that might be a different way than it was before you started drinking or even learned about alcohol. But here you have that opportunity to rewire it, and that is month number 3 through 6 probably. And I make that big jump because it actually does get pretty standard, I would say, to deal with a couple of thoughts about having a drink every evening, or definitely find those days where you're just like, I know I can't, but I really want one. So, but it does dissipate as you go through months 3 through 6. And by 6 months or so, it was consistently easy. I was still putting, little barriers in place to make sure that I wasn't going to be around people who were drinking. I don't generally go out, but even so, I wasn't sure I wanted to test the waters with being around people who were drinking yet. And so I decided kind of to, when the opportunity was available and I could avoid those situations, I did. Now, after, so long, it's it doesn't really matter. It was a mental thing, mostly, because I was worried about what effect that might have on me, but, it wasn't much of anything, really, because it really just comes back to what your willpower is and the fact that you're not going to do it no matter what, because you said so. Anyways, that is kind of the process, even up through the first year or so. And the rest of it, by then, you're pretty much wired for a new normal life at that point. At least that was my experience. And I probably wasn't the heaviest drinker. I had my time of day. I wouldn't day drink or anything like that. But, knock back a few too many in the evening, sure. But, so I think it qualifies for the discussion, at least, of needing the break. So, anyways, after about a year and a half, I finally felt comfortable with the position I was in, people drinking around me, whatever. And even to the point where I saw, that I left this channel in the dust and was like, I kind of want to get back into that because it was just fun to make the videos. It was fun to ferment things, and it's almost like a cooking kind of channel. And I'm really bad at cooking, but I'm at least mediocre at making alcohol. So I kind of redefined what I wanted to do with the channel. I haven't posted a video that would make you think I have redefined it at all. But in my brain, I've got ideas that don't fit what I was going to do. Like there's some non-alcoholic stuff that I want to bring into the channel that I talked about in the other video. And if you give it a subscribe, you'll probably see maple syrups on the table, kombucha's on the table, all kinds of interesting things in between that, like these kind of videos too, because it's an experience I had that I think is kind of worthy. It's worthy of sharing for people who may be going through the same thing and are looking for, kind of like a review of the process on YouTube or whatever. But anyways, I decided to come back into making videos and felt as though I could finally kind of trust myself because I wasn't looking to go drinking in my own kitchen every night. It was a good feeling, so I came back into it a little bit, like, okay, I'm going to test this out and see what's happening, what I can do. So I set some rules for myself, and of course those rules are that if I'm making any alcohol, then I have to do it in a small batch. Second, I have to share it with people because if I have it all, then that increases the likelihood that I'm going to drink more of it. And if I make it for other people, then that's less intimidating. So, thirdly, the only alcohol I can drink is alcohol that I've made. And those are the rules. And I've been able to stick to them really, really easily. That's a rule that I set when I made that video about why I stopped drinking and making videos and started to get back into making them. And that held true all the way until December 31st at around like 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then I finally had like my first full alcoholic drink. I had a couple sips to taste test a maple wine that I made, but I don't count that because that was not an intention of me to drink an entire glass of something. I needed to know what it tasted like so I could adjust it. But that first beer, that blonde ale that I made, was the first drink, and it marks essentially like a couple days to a few hours short of 2 years of sobriety, and that like my takeaway from the whole thing was that it was the best decision I could have made at the time to stop doing it because for reference, the beginning of the conversation started with gout, and I haven't had that in like over a year. I am so thankful that I don't have that anymore because of the lifestyle changes that I've made in quitting drinking and changing my eating and losing the weight. I am so happy that I did that. Not only that, but the whole process has changed my home. It didn't really, it changed my home dynamic, but not in like some overwhelming kind of way. Like it just made, it made communicating easier because I didn't have anything to distract me. Nothing to make me obnoxious in the evenings, I suppose, as well. It was overall a great improvement in that area. So yeah, and I am super happy. Would very much recommend that people, at least take it, the month off if you're, consistently drinking. Just take the month off. Enjoy your month. If you're not a heavy drinker, it should not be too difficult. So give it a try and see kind of where you lie on that spectrum there. But anyways, I suppose that's kind of the closeout. I spent 2 years not drinking, and now I've had my first full glass of beer 7 days ago. And, aside from I enjoy the flavor of beer, I haven't felt the need to be like buzzed at all. That's gone. In fact, I nearly say that I don't want to be, actually. You know, I can handle the stress without it, and, you know, I know that there is an effect out there that can make the stress go away, but I don't feel like I need it after I've been, you know, after I've taught myself how to not. So I really hope that continues, and I suppose there will need to be a follow-up later on. But, yeah, overall, the 2 years was great. Good time off, and I am definitely looking forward to finishing out this dry January, because I got nothing to drink except for a little bit of non-alcoholic beer in the fridge, which is really tasty, actually. And I'll only go for those like once in a while, because water is amazing. I don't understand why people don't like water sometimes, but water is great. But this isn't a channel about water. This is a channel about drinking. Or rather, this video is not about drinking. But anyways, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for taking the time to watch it. I hope that you maybe learned something or were entertained by some of the disgusting details of this story. Anyway, I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm probably going to go to bed real quick and wake up in the morning and have a big cup of coffee, because it's kind of late. I don't do anything other than late. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I'll catch you next time.